Hi everybody. So this is a little bit different from the videos I've done before because I'm generally doing sort of build-ups and lighting videos and things like that. But this kit that you can see here is one that I picked up at the Telford show last week, and I noticed a few comments on the Metropolis robot page that I follow on Facebook from people who they bought the kit or they're planning on buying the kit, but they're not necessarily kit builders. And obviously there's a lot of fans of the Metropolis movie and the robot itself, but maybe they're not kit builders, that or they might not have built a kit in years, but they quite like the idea of having a replica of this. And so I thought I'd do a quick video because a few people are saying, I don't know how I'd build it, or I don't know what paint to use, or how to put it together. So I just thought I'd put this together just as a few pointers, and then if anyone's got any questions, you can direct the questions to me on the Metropolis page, and I'll be happy to answer them. So the kit itself, it comes in this fabulous artwork on the box. The only thing I'm a little bit disappointed with this is that I think they missed a trick in that they could have maybe provided this inside the box as well as like an art card or something, without the logo on and without the plastic assembly kit thing at the bottom. That would have made a fabulous thing to frame. I may still try and frame this if I can think of a way of framing it to lose the logo on the top, because it's just too nice a box to sort of throw away. Now, different again to these things I usually do, I normally do, as I'm building things, I've actually put this thing together. I've got the lid off. As you can see, I've actually built the figure already, but I'll go through a few pointers as to what I came across, how it went together. The pieces that are missing out of this box are these parts here, which is the seat and the base, and you can see the Metropolis logo on the base there, which you could pick out in a colour. This is actually still in pieces. It comes in a few parts. On the back of the seat, it's got this inscription. You can just about make it out there. The English translation is in the instructions, and this goes together pretty well. This the seat part, and I'll talk a little bit about sort of adhesives and things like that in a second. I've not done much cleaning up on this. I've done a little bit of sanding on the back, but I'll go into that in a moment. So those pieces, it comes in, what's that, in 4 pieces. And it also comes with these small sort of I think that they lit up in the movie, and they've done them in clear, which obviously you could add lights to them. I'm tempted to do them painted, just so it sort of doesn't detract from the figure. Maybe I've not decided yet, but they're made in 2 halves. They're quite fiddly to put together. But once you start putting them together, it's the cleanup of the parts, which I'll talk about in a second, that is maybe fiddly for people who aren't used to building models. So I'll pop the seat to one side, and I'll pop this box to one side. I'll just talk a little bit about the instructions and the figure itself. So as you can see, the figure it's a fabulous sculpt of the original movie costume. It's one of the best I've seen in terms of the figure being reproduced at scale, and it goes together fairly simply. I mean, I've been building models for 50 plus years, but even without any particular special skills, I think most people, with some basic prep to the parts as they sort of work through it, could put this together. I put this together in a matter of a couple of hours, and although it's molded in this gold color, and I suppose you could leave it in this gold color if you wanted to, I'm going for what's sort of accepted as more of the original color, which is like a kind of, I think, like a kind of pewterish sort of bronze color. So I'm going to go for that. But the way I build figures, I put them together, then I spray them. You could actually paint a lot of these parts before they're assembled. A lot of the seams are at natural points in what would have been the costume where it was fixed together. So you can get away with leaving the seams, whereas on most model kits you'd sand these away. You can actually leave these seams a little bit closer there for you. You can leave these seams visible because there is an actual step in the costume. So you could paint these parts and then assemble it. Just to show you the instructions, it's a typical sort of, I mean, the company behind this is X Plus, but it's typical of most figure kits made by Mobius and Pegasus and people like that, the way this is put together. And there's these parts here that represent the undersuit that was worn underneath the sort of armor plating, if you like. So these are put together first, and then everything hangs off that torso and the legs here. And there's very little of this seen when it's together. So I've seen people build this and then spray it and then, you know, put the thing together. There's only really, if you look at the figure, there's just some elements there, top of the legs, behind the knees, a little bit around the neck there where you can see that. And I'm going to catch that with the spray that I put on. So I think that'll be fine. So the thing I did find, and as I say, I've been building kits for quite a long time, but I did get caught out, was by these illustrations here. They look like you just glue those two parts together, those two parts, the hands together, and then you suddenly realize that these are built around the arms, and the rear piece goes onto the arm and then the other piece goes over the top. So if you follow these instructions here, that'll give you that process. But it's very easy to start gluing these together and then suddenly realizing that you haven't built them around the leg or around the arm, because for some reason I was thinking they slid on, but they don't. The back goes on the back of this torso piece, and the front goes on the front of it, so that, you know, they meet in the middle, and this is trapped inside. So just be careful of that. It's difficult to go wrong with the orientation of the parts, because some of them are obviously, you know, what they are. These with the ribs on here, or the fronts of the legs, and the backs are completely different. And you can actually figure out which piece goes where. There's a couple of pieces that you think, well, are these the same? Like the knee pads there, I'm not sure they are the same because they've got different numbers. So just be careful, and maybe do one leg first, then do the other, so you don't mix the parts up. The other thing that may catch a few sort of unwary out, if, you know, you've not built kits for a long time or you've never built a kit before, is the attachment points to the sprues that the parts come on are quite heavy, and they're undergated in the sense that they're attached to the sort of face where it glues on. So the best way to be removing these parts from the sprues is using a pair of cutters like these. Now these are specialist cutters, but you don't really need anything as complicated as this. You could use a pair of, I'm just looking for my set here, actually I can't actually see them now, but you could just use a cheap pair of sort of side cutters like you use for wiring and things like that. You can pick them up for a couple of £, and they're handy because you can snap through the attachment point, then clean the attachment point up later. So for instance, on a typical kit sprue, and as I say, I don't have the sprues now because I've dispose of them now because I put the figure together. But here's some figures off a submarine that I'm building. So these are the sprues here for anyone who doesn't know what the sprue is. And where the parts are attached, you can just snip through at that point and take the part off, and then you can clean up the part itself. So, for instance, if I just snip this little figure off here, and this is, you know, I know this isn't the actual robot kit, but it's the same process. So I've snipped that off there, and it's leaving these attachment points. Let me just move that out of the way. It's leaving these attachment points here that you can see that you need to remove. So then all you do is you get a hobby knife like this, and you can carefully cut away these parts here. You need a sharp blade, obviously. I think this isn't as sharp as it was. I've been using it for something else. And you can just pare those off until it's you're just left with the part. And do this as you go along to each of the parts, and then that will allow you then to get them to fit together. And the fit of the parts on this kit are excellent. Once you've got rid of those attachment points, they do glue together very, very easily. You will have a couple of pieces left over in the fact that they give you some spare parts, which these are the ear pieces that fit here, and there's also these little connectors that connect at the shoulders. So they actually give you 2 spares of each, so which is quite handy because they are very delicate parts, these, and you could easily snap them in half or lose one on the carpet or whatever. You know, they go on quite well. As I say, the whole thing went together very, very easily, and as you can see, it fits into the base like this, and the fit's really, really good to the base as well. So once it's all painted up and connected up, it really looks the part. As for sticking the parts together, you've got a few choices. I mean, you can still buy the tube glue that people used to use, but it's not really. It takes a long time to dry, and it makes a mess and things like that. One option would be to use this Revell. It's known as contactor, and you take this off. It's got like a little needle, and you can apply that to the joints. That goes off reasonably quickly. But a better solution would be this stuff, which is made by Tamiya, and it's extra thin cement, and it comes in a bottle. The bottle's square, so it can't be knocked over, which is quite handy. And it comes with this little tiny brush on the end, and basically you can hold the 2 parts together, and then just apply this to the plastic, and because it's water thin, it'll carry along the joint by capillary action, and you only have to hold it together for 20 seconds or so, and then just leave it, and it's done. And as I say, remember, you're closing the parts around the inner figure, if you like. The only part I had to clamp, and for that I used these little spring clamps. You can buy these in most hardware shops. Was the backs of these arm pieces here. There was a little bit of a gap once the glue had gone on. I basically just put the clamp on until the glue had gone off, left it a few hours, and then took it off, and then I just scraped the joint back with the blade of the knife just to get rid of the seam. There was a tiny little mark there, which I don't know whether that was from me cleaning the part up a bit over vigorously, and I had to put a tiny bit of filler on it, and a similar one there. It might just be where I cut it from the sprue, but I just used a tiny bit of filler. I use this Humbrol type, and it goes off, and then you can sand it back. The joints themselves, I think most people would be happy with it as it comes. If you really did want to clean the joints, so the only joints I cleaned up were on this arm piece here and here. Everything else is as it comes in the kit. And all I did there was I used one of these little sanding sticks. This is like a nail file type thing, and you can just basically sand it back and get rid of it, and then paint over that. I think, you know, if you take your time on this, it's within most people's ability really to be able to put this together. So if you're a fan of the movie or the robot or anything sort of Art Deco or all that kind of stuff, it's a very, very easy build. It's not a bad kit actually as a kind of intro to kit building really, because you do get such a nice looking figure. And as I say, if you're just happy with the gold finish, I mean, that looks pretty decent as it is with no paint on. In terms of paint, you've got quite a lot of choices. I use an airbrush, so I'm going to spray this, and I'm going to give it a coat of matte black, completely matte black first, and that'll fill in all the crevices and the undersuit and everything else. And once I'm happy with that, I'll then go over it with a metallic colour. Now I'm aiming for a kind of, as I say, that pewter, slightly bronzish type colour, which I've not decided which paint I'm going to use yet. I'm just hunting around. Options for people who maybe just want to paint it but don't have any specialist equipment. Obviously, you've got all your typical model paints. You've got things like the sort of Humbrol paints, which you can paint with a brush. You've got these Tamiya ones. I was looking at this actually. That's not a bad colour for a sort of, if you're going for the sort of silvery colour, that's titanium silver. These are better spray painted rather than brush painted. They don't brush paint very well. So if you're going to brush paint it, go for the Humbrol or maybe the Revell enamel colours. The acrylics are better sprayed. You can get these specialist type acrylics. This is a mister colour, which they're a little bit difficult to find depending on how good your hobby shop is. But these are Mister Hobby, and this is this isn't the shade I'm going to use, but that's an example of one that you can get. Another option, you've got these Tamiya spray cans, which go on really, really nicely. And again, you could use these, but you do have to use a little bit of practice with these. You wouldn't want to ruin the model by sort of piling paint onto it. They're better done in very fine coats, light coats, and build up the colour. And this is quite a nice colour actually. This is German grey. So for a base coat, it's got a slightly metallic sheen to this. But you could use one of these. And then another option again would be to go down the route, if you paint it matte black first, you can try using these. Now these are made by AK Interactive, and they're known as True Metal, and they're different colours. I mean, the ones I've plucked out of the box here, this is steel, and this one is old bronze. I'm not suggesting you use these colours, but it gives sort of an idea of the kind of colours you get. There's about, I don't know, there's about 10 different colours in the range, and these are they seem to be wax based. That they're like a colour in. Let me just move that up there. See, it's like a colour. It looks like oil paint, but they're actually wax, and they smell. They don't smell like oil paint. They smell a little bit like a candle. And what happens with these is these are applied with a brush over a matte black finish, or you can apply them with a cloth as well. And you basically apply like a thin layer, leave it maybe about 20 minutes, and then you can buff it with a cloth. And to give you an idea of the colour, this is a torpedo out of the submarine that I'm building. and the end of this was done in the bronze colour, and you get a really, really nice finish. And they're just buff. They look like they've been sprayed on. There's the steel colour. Now I think the steel's probably too light for this robot. I think you'd be better off with a darker one. I think they do like a gunmetal colour as well. But that's another option for doing it. Yeah, I mean it's a fantastic kit, and I think even somebody that was into the robot but maybe isn't a kit builder could make a decent job of this, even just with a pot of glue and a hobby knife just to clean up the parts. You know, you'll end up with a fantastic looking replica. As I say, the base itself, there's the other part of the base of the seat off. I'm going probably for like a kind of like a granite looking finish on this, just so it makes the figure stand out better. And I wasn't too keen on the Metropolis logo on there. However, I do actually quite like it now, so I'm thinking of picking that out in like maybe a bronze colour, you know, and it'll really stand out against the dark of the granite colour. So all in all, a great kit, and maybe just show it finally. Obviously those little light parts go on it as well, but there it is on its base. You know, it's a fair old size as well, isn't it? So it's a nice, it'll look nice on your bookcase, or, you know, top of the fireplace or whatever. And so, as I say, I'll post this on I'll post a link off my YouTube page to the Metropolis page, so you'll be able to pick it up there. I'm also on Facebook as Small Scale Futures, so you'll be able to find, there's loads of models on there, mostly sci-fi, and there's various things in different stages of construction, so you can see how things go together. But as I say, if anyone's got any questions about how to put this together, then I'd be more than happy to answer them. And equally, if there's anyone that really wants this sort of building for them, it's a very simple kit for me to put together. So if somebody really desperately wanted one building, then maybe we can negotiate a way of me building it for you, because I wouldn't have a problem with building another one of these. So just get in touch. You know, you can send me a private message or whatever. And but what I will do is I'll post some pictures of this once I've painted it up to the Metropolis page as well. And then, you know, any comments, feel free to be in touch. Okay, so thanks for watching.